Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, welcome to my space. My name is Celeste, and today we're going to be talking about the full moon, and coincidentally enough, it's the spring equinox next week. So not only how to connect to this energy, but also why. Why is it important? How does it affect you? Why should you even care? Okay, I started working with the moon cycle a few years back, and I started to quickly realize the power that occurs in life, the magic that you start to create when you are in tune with the cycles of life and the cycles of the month. Um, and the new moon and the full moon is a great time to check in twice a month, very rarely 3 times a month, but twice a month generally. And it's like writing your own story and being able to check in once in a while. Think about how often you wake up one day or you're speaking to someone and you said, wow, it's already been a year? Oh, it's already been 3 years? That happens, right? So time is moving, it's moving quickly, and the full moon and the new moon is a great time to just stop, to tune in, to see where we are in life. And they represent totally different cycles and totally different times of the month. So today we're going to be focusing on the full moon, specifically also the spring equinox. So the full moon is a representation of our subconscious mind. Now that can be correlated to the dark shadows, the unknown. And when we say the dark, instead of going into this creepy, weird sensation, just think about the fact that there's dark and there's light. Light is information. Dark is just lack of information. So let's say you step into a room and it's lit up. You can see everything in the room, right? You're probably going to be in very little to no fear because you see what's in front of you. Now, if you step into a room and there's no light, it's completely dark, you're going to have some questions come up, some doubts, maybe some fear, insecurity, depending on where you are, right? It's the same thing. So instead of thinking of the dark, like shedding light on the dark, sometimes I feel like people get a little freaked out and they're like, stop, I don't want to hear anything else. Just think of it as parts of yourself, parts of the persona, parts of the collective that we haven't been exposed to, or if we have, we need to look at it further and we need to sit with it longer. So it's a type of exploration, if you will. So the full moon sheds light. When it's full, it's bright, it's yellow. That light is being shed on the subconscious realms. And how does that happen? The veils start to thin. The veils of perception, the layers that blind us, that blind the mental body, that blind the emotional body. Recently, I was given the message that we have so many veils in our heart space. And it's just a part of being human. But these full moon portals, these full moon energetic times allow those veils to part. And it's like we get a sneak peek for a certain amount of time into a little bit more truth. And we're given the ability to dig a little bit deeper if we want, if we're willing, right? So that's the part that I say, why do you want to tune in? How is this important for you? Well, the more aware you are, you can bring conscious awareness to this time, to the time of the full moon. And by sitting with it, by looking at that dark side, the subconscious, dark doesn't necessarily mean negative, right? It just means unseen. So by taking conscious awareness to this space that we don't look at, or we're not taught to look at, we are gifted with an opportunity. an opportunity of transformation, an opportunity to create space, right? What happens when you clean your home out, when you detox your body? What happens is that you create space for something new, for new light to come in. So when we are aware of what's really inside of us and what's really in the world, then it's like we create space for something new. We have more consciousness, and so with that consciousness, we have more power. So that's why I really like to tune in, especially in the full moon. I find it a lot more powerful compared to the new moon, to really set that time aside. So the full moon, you want to think of it between 24 to 36 hours before the peak and 24 to 36 hours after the peak. So if you ever Google full moon and then the date, it will tell you a time. That's the time of the peak. So if you ever want to do, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, of meditation, that's the time where ideally you want to connect to that portal, because it's the most separation of the veils. It's when the light of the portal, like the intense amount of light, is available to us. So that's why we connect at the full moon. And another thing to be aware of is that is why we hear about the common thing of the crazies come out in the full moon, or we tend to be a little bit more edgy, we are a little bit more emotional, a little bit more erratic. Things kind of happen. If you ever start to bring this awareness into your life and start to track the full moon, and then notice when you go out, oof, the traffic, the people. If you ever go, I stay away from malls. Like in full moons, I just do. I try to stay away from crazy traffic, because it's already a density, and now you're adding on these crazy emotional layers and a lot of shedding and a lot of emotional outrage, right? Because as human beings, we have all these emotions inside of us, all of these perhaps trauma, perhaps life events that have created belief systems, that have created emotional patterns. And we can wake up every day for an entire life and be completely unaware and live life like that. Or we can take responsibility, bring conscious awareness to it, and sit down during these full moons and ask to see what needs to be seen. So that's how I see the full moon. It's also a great time to shed, a great time to release. So anything that does not serve you, that you find is just not beneficial, is an obstruction, is not helping you on your path, it's a great time to write it down, or to just tune into that aspect of your life, your relationships, your financial situation, anything, emotional behavior, physical behaviors, addictions, anything and everything you could think of. Bring light into that, because that's what we would call the dark, the unseen, that part of ourselves that we don't necessarily look at every single day when we wake up and we have, a little gratitude prayer, like, oh, thank you for my shadows. No, we don't say that, right? So the full moon is a great and powerful time to do that. The moon and the cosmic energy is supporting us. It's helping us. It's like giving us a little pat on the shoulder, sometimes a little bit of a push. Okay. All right. So let me check. All right. So let's get into the how. How do you connect in the full moon? Before we get into the how, the actual significance of the equinox. So think of everything that I just explained. Now the equinox, the transition into the springtime, it amplifies this energy. Imagine like 100-fold. I personally feel it 1,000-fold. I feel it physically. I feel it emotionally. And that could show up in many different ways, right? Perhaps you're not affected by it at all. What I notice is that, a lot of people, most people are affected by it. They just don't realize it. They just think that they're waking up moody, or the day's going bad, or they're just grumpy and things aren't working out. And it just happens to be that it's not the case at all. It's because it's the full moon, and especially coming up for the equinox. This is why I wanted to make a video about it. This energy is magnified 100 or maybe 1,000-fold, depending on your personality and your DNA makeup and all of that. So you could start to wake up. I already feel it now. I'm already starting to feel the shift. So you can start to feel extremely emotional, pretty erratic. Things start to happen in your life very quickly, either for the negative or the positive. By the way, that doesn't really ever happen for the negative. It just, your ego thinks it's negative, but it's actually just allowing you to see and give light to what does not serve. Just a little side note. So yeah, that's how it starts to reflect. And even physical ailments, guys, like if you start to have body aches and migraines and tension, that could also be due to the full moon and specifically the equinox because it's so powerful. So it's a beautiful time to come together as community, because when we come together as community, our energy fields merge. And through any type of sacred act of yoga, movement, meditation, breath work, we can align our heart space and we can really connect to this portal, this energy, and use it to really give us a positive push forward. So it's a great time to come together. Whenever you come together in a group, things amplify, again, 10 times, 100 times fold. So it's a great opportunity to do that and take advantage of the equinox to really tune in and figure out, where's my life? It's the third month of 2019. What were my intentions for this year? How is that looking? Is that even serving me? It's a great time, especially for me, to realize what I wanted in January, it's shifted. And yeah, we're living in accelerated times. And if you're aware of these cycles and you're aware of this energy and you're using it monthly, you would be surprised at how quickly things shift and change for you. But that means that my intentions that I wrote in January or December 31st, they're not necessarily aligned to who I am 3 months later and what I see myself doing this summer. So it's a great time to check in with yourself. And as we step into the spring, these seeds are being planted and the flowers start to bloom. So think about it as your garden. I heard once the metaphor of your mind and your life being a garden. So if you could give all of your love and all of your attention like you would to a flower garden or a vegetable garden, like if you grew your own food and your life depended on it, how much energy would you give to that, right? But because it's not there and we think our life doesn't depend on it, then we don't give that energy to our heart and to our mind and to our energy bodies. So just take some time to sit with that, because that is really where the magic lies and where the work lies. Okay, so let's get into the how. I get this question a lot. How do you connect to the moon, to the new moon or the full moon? And how do you set your intentions around it, okay? So I like to set a ritual or a sacred space or a ceremony. Now, this, again, try to keep it to who you are, right? I don't like to give too many details because I feel it's very important to stay true to who you are. For some people, a ritual may be, sitting in silence and making dinner and lighting a candle. That could be extremely powerful and honoring to you and your soul. For some people, it's shamanic drumming and chanting. For others, it's, X, Y, and Z. So do something that honors your spirit and your life and your heart of hearts. So create that sacred time, that sacred space. I like to do it at the peak time. So again, if you Google the time of the full moon, around that time is when I like to set that ritual or that ceremony. If it's completely impossible, just do it in the 24 to 36 hours of that day or 2 or 3, okay? I like to use things as crystals. I have actually here a pyrite crystal, and also essential oils. I have here jasmine. And I've been working with these tools now for a few months, and they're extremely powerful. These tools are extremely high vibrational. And so what happens in the portal, I'll explain a little bit about why we use things like crystals and oils. You start to tune into your subtle body. Okay, so we have the physical body, right? And then we have our emotional body, our subtle body, our heart field that you cannot touch, but you know it's there. You know when your heart is broken or when your heart is in joy. You know when you feel stressed or frazzled or excited, right? Those are emotional fields. The subtle emotional bodies are there. And so these tools are holding that higher frequency and working on those realms. I like to hold crystals and meditate with them, or just surround the altar or the space, or if I'm hosting an event, I'll bring the crystals because they just hold that higher frequency and they project into alternate dimensions. And alternate dimensions, again, it's just the subtle realms. It's the things that we perhaps cannot directly see or touch, but they are there, and you know that they're there. And crystals are very powerful for that. So this is pyrite, crystal of abundance and manifestation. Beautiful crystal for new moon and full moon. And this particularly is jasmine doTERRA oil. I like it because it's very subtle and it's very connected to the heart energy. So I smell it and I just go straight into the heart space. It doesn't mean that you have to use a flower. You could use any oil or any smell for that matter. Try to keep it natural. Just, keep it clean and healthy for you. And the sense of smell is incredibly powerful. It completely changes the physiology of the body. It changes your emotional body within seconds. It changes the brain function. It's incredibly powerful. It could change the brain instantly within 10 to 15 seconds. So these are all scientifically proven facts. This is not woo-woo stuff. And these tools help us to tune in. So if meditation or tuning in is something that is a new practice for you, these are just tools that are going to help enhance that experience. It's going to help you go, a little bit deeper into the subtle and a little bit less out there, a little bit, shedding the external for just a little bit, just to go within and to check in, to see how you're doing, right? So that's why I like to use crystals and oils. You don't have to. Setting intentions. If you're using crystals and oils, you can actually hold your crystal and speak out loud with your voice. Don't just whisper it to yourself. And set the intention to program your crystal with your intention. Like, hi, pyrite, help me in this full moon to set my intention of X, Y, and Z. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? Oils, you can actually take a drop or two on the oil, or you can just rub oil in between your palms and take a deep breath and give that as an offering to the subtle realm and ask for your intention. And a good thing I like to say around intentions is check into where the intention is coming from. It's very easy to go into this type of work and say, I want this physical manifestation or this car or this amount of money. And that's nice and it's not wrong. It's completely okay to do that. But check in with yourself. Is it your ego that is trying to just get things just to get them? Like, I want $200,000. Why? Why do I want $200,000? Like, are you going to use that for something good? Again, it's not a bad thing. Like, everybody deserves abundance. Everybody deserves all of their dreams. but it's a good place, again, to check in, be honest with yourself. What is going to serve right now my highest good? What is going to serve my divine will? If you have a soul mission, if you're connected to that type of stuff, what is going to serve my mission on earth, in this life, right? And then as we start to connect and tune into those missions and to that deeper purpose of why we're here and what we're doing and what we need support for, then the abundance will come. Then all of the, external things that perhaps we would call egoic wants and needs start to manifest. But I genuinely believe that until you start to align yourself on that higher path, check in, truly be honest with yourself and ask, what is it that you actually want and need? What does your soul and your heart of hearts actually want and need? So just tune into that intention. Okay. And lastly, using meditation is really, really powerful. I'm going to be uploading a video on conscious breathing. I have a few meditation videos up. But meditation is a great tool to slow down the mind, to tune into the subtle. I mean, it's just that simple. Our mind is constantly going. It's constant chatter, focused on the future, focused on the past. And when we just let go of all that and create that same portal that the full moon brings, if you could feel it like as a pillar of light, it's how I feel it when I meditate and connect to the portal of the full moon. It's like a pillar of light that comes down, and it comes straight from the full moon down through the crown into your heart space. But only if you bring conscious awareness to it, and only if you show up for that. It doesn't happen alone. Sometimes I hear people say, it's just going to happen anyway, so what's the difference? There's a huge difference. You're a co-creator. You have power. So when you bring power to that moment and you use meditation and your tools, your conscious awareness and focus, and you bring that pillar of light and you create that space in the mind to take away all the extra stuff and just tune in and allow the breath to guide, that connection to the heart of hearts and your soul's truth will just be at the forefront. It's just going to come to you. It's going to be shown to you through messages, through people, through circumstances, maybe in that very same moment. But these are the tools. This is that power of being a co-creator, of showing up and honoring the sacred passage, I like to call it, honoring the portal, honoring the light that's being given to us, right? You could show a horse the way to the water, but you can't force the horse to drink the water, right? It's the same thing. Cosmology is here to help us. Our soul, our spirit, our emotional body, it's all here to help us. But we have to tune in. We have to show up. And we have to give it its due importance. Okay, so if you are in the Miami area, I will be doing a beautiful event. I'm super excited about it next Wednesday, March 20th at 6:30 p.m. It is at Love Life Cafe, situated in Wynwood. I'm going to be guiding you guys through a heart-based yoga flow, meaning we're going to be really focusing on opening up across the heart space, one of my favorite places to work with. And again, just to release these veils, release these perceptions, release these walls that have been, obstructed, and the walls that have obstructed our ability to see our truth. That's what I meant to say. So that's the yoga flow. It's going to be followed by sound bath, sound healing, which is incredibly powerful as well, to be able to align and tune in your vibration and your energetic field to that of quartz bowls, singing bowls, and other instruments. Very, very powerful. We're going to be setting intentions. We're going to have essential oils. I'm going to have a few ladies helping me with essential oils. It's just going to be a beautiful night. And I'm going to guide you through a meditation to go into your heart space, connect to the portal, and genuinely place your intentions, your heart of heart intentions for the 2019 year. All right, guys. Have an awesome day. Like and subscribe if you appreciate this type of content. I would love to hear from you. I am on Instagram at CG_wellness, and I am posting daily one tip until next Wednesday on how to prepare. So if you're not in Miami and you can't make it, just tune into Instagram and check out the daily tips on how to prepare to really enhance and maximize this beautiful portal. Okay, blessings.